Freddy was the kind of man who noticed the quiet things, the way shadows stretched across stone walls in the afternoon, the way steam curled out of a teacup like it was trying to speak, the way silence didn't always mean nothing. Sometimes it meant everything. He lived alone in a small house on the hill, just far enough from the city that stars still made an appearance. Every night before bed, he would sit by the window and watch Mars rise, small, red, and patient. He wasn't sad. He was just listening. Once, long ago, Freddy had been a scientist, the kind who looked for patterns in dust, who read the stories written in old rock. He'd studied Mars, read about its rivers that once ran, its lakes that once sang with wind, and the silence that followed when its breath grew thin. Now, older and slower, he still wondered, why do some places stop speaking? What happens to a world that remembers but cannot reply? One night, Mars seemed brighter, or maybe his eyes had simply grown clearer with age. He blinked, and in that blink, something changed. The air in the room thickened, like warm syrup. The hum of night softened until it was no longer outside him but inside. Freddy didn't move. He didn't need to, because suddenly he was somewhere else. The ground beneath him was dry and orange, soft like crushed clay. His boots, no longer slippers, sank slightly with each step. The sky above was not black, but a soft coral hue, like a breath just before dawn. There was no wind, but the silence pressed gently against his ears. Mars. He had dreamed of it for years, but never like this. He walked, slowly, thoughtfully. Each step felt like a question, and the dust, somehow, answered back with the hush of memory. He reached the edge of a canyon, wide, deep, ancient, the kind of place that had seen lifetimes pass in silence. Freddy sat, feeling the coolness of the rock seep through his bones. He closed his eyes and listened, not for noise, but for meaning. There was a vibration, not sound, just a feeling, like the heartbeat of something sleeping just beneath, as if the planet itself were breathing, slowly, deeply, waiting. He opened his eyes and saw it, not a city, not ruins, but a single, shimmering tree. It stood in the middle of the plain, tall and still. Its bark was the color of rust. Its leaves, thin silver threads, whispered in a breeze that didn't touch the skin. Freddy walked to it. With every step, he remembered something he hadn't thought of in years. The sound of his mother's laughter, the way his child's hand fit into his, the first time he looked through a telescope and felt the sky lean closer. He reached out and touched the tree. It hummed beneath his palm, soft, rhythmic, ancient. And then it bloomed. Not with flowers, but with memories. Shapes danced in the dust. A child running through red fields, a hand carving symbols into rock, eyes staring at the stars, not from Earth, but from here. Freddy didn't try to understand. He just let it pass through him, like wind through tall grass. The tree was telling him its story, of time, of silence, of purpose not lost but resting. And in that moment, Freddy understood. Silence wasn't absence. It was waiting. Mars wasn't forgotten. It was remembering. The tree shimmered once more, and a single leaf drifted down. He caught it in both hands. It felt like warm metal. It smelled like dust after rain. And it pulsed gently. The world around him began to blur. The tree faded. The dust softened into fabric. And the quiet became familiar. He was back in his chair. The stars were still outside the window. Mars still shone. Red, small, patient. But in his lap was something new. A seed. Round. Smooth. Pulsing faintly. He walked outside into the garden. The grass was cool. The air smelled like coming rain. He knelt, dug a small hole with his hands, and planted the seed. Covered it with earth. Sat beside it. He didn't know what it would grow into. Maybe nothing. Maybe something no one had ever seen. But that wasn't the point. The point was the silence. The breath between thoughts. The space where something once lived still does, quietly. Freddy smiled, rested his hands on his knees, and whispered, "You're not alone. I heard you." And Mars blinked softly in return.